What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great day, great night, whenever you're watching this. If I get my words mixed up a little bit, it's because, I'm a little tired right now. I just got out of work and I'm heading home right now. So, yeah, that's kind of why I look like trash a little bit. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure some people will still call me that anyways because of some of the things I said, but whatever. Not my problem, anyways. But getting serious now with the topic. Of course, there was a shooting that happened a few days ago in Minneapolis. You know, there was a shooting that happened at a Catholic school. Two children ended up losing their life, and 17 others were injured, excuse me. And for that, I will say, for the two kids that lost their life, my heart aches for them big time. I am praying for the family, the friends, and everybody that cared for those two kids. May God be with all those who are suffering from their losses, and may those two kids rest in peace. And to everybody else who was injured from this tragedy, I hope and pray that they have a fast recovery. I hope and pray that the casualty count does not go up any further than what it is. It's a pretty sad situation, and I would not wish this to ever happen to anybody's kids, regardless of how I feel. It's a screwed up situation. And for that mass shooter that did that, from what I understand, it was a transgender person that ended up causing this situation to happen. I'll tell you what, man. Okay, I'm not bashing all transgender people. If you're a transgender and you are against this type of stuff, then I have nothing against you in particular. Regardless, I'm not going to condone anything like this, regardless of what the mass shooter is. Regardless if it's a transgender, regardless if the person's gay or straight or whatever, or regardless if the dude is white, black, Asian, Hispanic, or if they're Christian, Catholic, Muslim, or atheist, or whatever. You know what? I don't care what you do in your life or what you consider yourself. This crap is not okay. Alright? So if I sound like I am being hardcore against the LGBTQ community in this subject, then I apologize. But honestly, I'm going to say some things that are probably going to upset some people, and you know what? I don't care. I don't like to judge and all much now, because I'm trying to get right with Jesus and, not judge so much. So, God, I apologize now if I say some things I probably shouldn't, but I'm just going to come out and say what I have to say. So, of course, the mass shooter was a transgender, and, from what I understand, the transgender had Christian parents, and I'm not too sure exactly how that works. Both your parents are Christian, but here you are going against their beliefs. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised, because I've heard a few other cases like that where the kids end up being super different from their parents. So I guess I don't know how that works, but then again, I mean, how they ended up raising their kid, I have no clue. But for this mass shooter, everybody's sitting there talking nonstop about how this person was a Trumper, or this person was a hardcore Second Amendment member or some nonsense like that. And honestly, from what I understand, this person was not allowed to have guns. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. That's research I've done. So if that's not true, then I apologize. Feel free to correct me. But from what I heard, this person wasn't even allowed to have guns. And this person was a transgender. This person had made posts on social media, writing down, or she had, she, whatever the hell this person came out as. This person, I'm not even going to say the name of this person because I'm not going to sit there and say names of killers. But this person wrote down on his or her weapons, frickin', F Donald Trump, kill all Trump supporters, bunch of anti-Trump, anti-Christian stuff, or something like that. I'll have to look at the pictures again. I only saw the pictures once, so I'll have to look into that again. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on those too. But to be honest, I really don't care either. But my frickin' word. I understand not everybody is going to like certain things in life, like, I get it. I understand there are some transgender people out there that face a lot of criticism. But I will say this right now, and I really don't care if I make people mad for saying this. And I've said this before in another video a few years back, and I will say it again. If you are a transgender and you are mad because people are not respecting you for who you are or accepting who you are, when really you did that to yourself because you couldn't accept who you were prior to that, then you know what? I don't care to hear your frickin' sob story. Oh, well, this person was a transgender. This person probably went through this and that. You know what? I don't care. If you think you need to go and end lives of anybody, especially children, you have a serious frickin' problem. I will say that right now, that stuff like that, it's messed up. I don't know how, the sad thing is there's people out there that are defending this mass shooter and sitting there saying things like, well, this person probably went through this and that, you don't understand what transgender people go through. You know what? If they're going to go to the extent of killing people, especially children, then I don't care about what they went through prior to that. There is no reason to be sitting there going after children all because people don't want to accept you for who you are or respect you for who you are. When you did that to yourself. To that mass shooter, all I will say is, I'm glad, I hate to even say this because, like I said, I'm trying to get my life right with Jesus. But you kill a bunch of people like that, especially children. I don't care if it's only one person, one child anyways, or 30. You kill any child out there, and you end up killing yourself afterwards, I'm not going to have any sympathy, and the only statement they're going to get from me is that I think they deserve to burn in hell forever. I have no sympathy for anybody, regardless if they're transgender or not, that want to freaking go and cause a major tragedy like that. And then rather than man up and face their consequences, decide to freaking kill themselves for it. That's my rant with the transgender that killed those 2 kids. Now, what I will say is this right here. To everybody that's sitting there claiming that this person was a Trumper, or, sit there and go after everybody who is a part of the Second Amendment, they support it, they own guns or whatever. You're going after those people. Honestly, you need to kick rocks. There are millions and millions and millions of Trump supporters, Second Amendment supporters, gun owners, a lot of people like that do not support these mass shootings. And you know what? I am a part of those people. I do not support any mass shooting out there. I never have, and I never will. But hey, because there's another mass shooting that happens. Hey, let's point fingers and make ourselves sound like complete idiots. I just don't understand people sometimes. I understand people are going to have their opinions. And that's fine. I'm not saying we all have to agree on the same thing. But before you go and jump into any type of judgment, at least look into the facts first. In my opinion, even if this person wasn't a transgender and it was somehow some Trump supporter or somebody who is just a Second Amendment type of person, and they own a bunch of guns or whatever, my statement about people who cause mass shootings would still remain the same, regardless of what that person is. And I really don't care what people have to say. To everybody out there that's sitting there saying things like, thoughts and prayers won't do anything, but let's politicize these tragedies. Let's say this, let's say that, da-da-da-da-da. Okay. In situations like this, I understand people's point of view, Yes, maybe we do need to do more than send out thoughts and prayers, and pray for people. But at the same time, a lot of people that say those things, is there anything you've done to try and prevent any more of these shootings from happening? Or are you just one of those Facebook warriors or internet warriors, ex-warriors, whatever the hell you want to call yourself, that just sits there and likes to frickin' judge people? Or sit there and bring politics up every time a frickin' tragedy happens. Because if you're one of those types of people out there, I don't care to hear what you have to say then. Your opinion to me is irrelevant. Like I said, I agree that we definitely do need to do more than just think and pray. But at the same time, if you're not going to do anything about it, then shut the hell up. You know, I'm sorry, but sitting there being a judgmental internet warrior, sitting there saying, you know, this and that, you know, sitting there judging people, sitting there making all sorts of weird statements, especially if it's not a useful statement, like, that's not going to stop these tragedies from happening. I am sorry. You know, I wish there was a way that would help, but guess what? It's not going to. You know, yes, I want these mass shootings to stop too. But you know what? Sitting there judging people that didn't do anything, sitting there saying, oh, well, you know, this ain't gonna work, that ain't gonna work. You know what? You're not helping the situation at all. You know? There's a lot of things that I think schools can do to better protect children and all this crap. But are they going to do it? Probably not. You know, that's what I'm going to say. You know, I definitely think that schools need to better themselves, like, you know, add better security and all this, you know, and maybe, I don't know, my list can continue. I'm not going to go on and on with my list, but I'm just telling you right now, man, I am fed up with these mass shootings. I really am. And to anybody out there that does cause a mass shooting and they end up living somehow, then they should be sitting in prison for the rest of their lives with the worst consequences out there. And to any mass shooter out there that ends up either getting themselves, they either kill themselves or somehow like somebody else kills them, then the only thing I'm gonna say about that is have fun in hell. Again, I don't like to wish things like that. I've said that multiple times. You know, it's something I don't like to wish to happen to anybody. But that's what I have to say about people who freaking kill children. There is no excuse for that. That's all I have to say for this video. I'm going to cut this video now. I'm sure I probably upset some people for some of the things I've said. And if you guys hear that noise in the background when I go to move it, something's up with this van. I need to have it taken to a shop at some point. But anyways, if you agree with what I said, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I normally upload about politics, but, you know, I haven't really been talking about politics much this year anyways. But if you don't like what I said, well, feel free to dislike, feel free to leave a comment, or comment if you do agree too, you know, whatever works. I'm done. You guys have a good day, and also, hope you guys have a fantastic Labor Day weekend to remember. Y'all be safe now.